Wow. Can you hear me, Rich?
Yes, can you
Yes,
hear
can you
me?
hear me?
Hear me okay?
Yeah. I just want to make sure my audio or I could hear you. You obviously hadn't started your meeting yet.
Yep, no,
Yep.
that's perfect. We'll start at 5 after. I give people 5 minutes to arrive.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was ready.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Hi, everybody that's on time, which I love it, but we are giving people 5 minutes, so we will be starting in 5 minutes. Two minutes, guys. We'll start in 2 minutes. Okay, 11:05, we'll get started here. Everyone can see my screen, right, with my REMAX North Buyer Agent Commission? Holler if you can. Okay, thumbs up. All right, so this is the website that we started. So it is RMNSA, so REMAX North San Antonio, BBC.com. That's where we are going to be showing our commissions there. Now, just so you know, you can't show that, you can't put that on the website. You can't do any of those things, but it is a resource that you can tell agents that they can go and see what your buyer side commission is if you choose to, too. This isn't a requirement. This isn't like mandated that you have to put it up here, but it's I think most people like having it, and it gives other agents in San Antonio area a place where they can go and see the commissions we are offering. It is a manual system, so this isn't going to be like easy peasy. This isn't automated from anything. So you have to email both the front desk and me. We're going to tackle this together just so that we can be more efficient time-wise and everything. So you can see the instruction here. You email and you put listing BBC in the subject line and send the email to those 2 email addresses, and then we'll get that updated. If you want to be more hands-on, I don't have an issue with sharing it's just a Google Doc and we're going to go and we'll take a look at what the page looks like. So I can also share that with you if you want to just handle it on your own. What I do ask is keep it simple. We're not allowed to sort this in any way, shape, or form. That's a violation, like to sort it by commission rate or really anything. So if you do decide you want to do it on your own and you're going to do the Google Doc yourself, you're basically just going to go to the bottom and put your listing in, and that's it. Or if you have a listing that's sold, you would go to that line and simply delete it. So we want to be careful. This doesn't hold any weight, unfortunately. But I mean, I think our reputation and what we want to be accurate, that make people feel comfortable. If we're offering commission, we're offering it, we're upfront about it. Here's where it's at. But it doesn't hold weight contractually. So it's not like the MLS where you used to be able to say, hey, it says it on the MLS, I'm guaranteed to get it. That's no more, right? As you can see by all the form changes and everything. So hopefully that all makes sense there. I think it's pretty straightforward, and I'm going to go switch here to just show you what that page looks like. Let me change over here. Give me 1 minute. Okay, there we go. Everybody should be able to see that now. So this is the page where it updates to, and as you can see, and that's the reason I was just talking about the sorting. So what you're going to tell someone, hey, if you need to find something, all you're doing is going to just hit Control F and, be able to put the name in. As you can see, I just put Forest and it went down to Silent Forest, and you can see what the commission is. Has all our rentals on there too, and all our listings there. So this was generated, prior to the change. So if you haven't emailed it in, then you may not see your property here on recent listings that you have. So like I said, follow those instructions, get those over to me, and Roxanne will make sure we update it as quickly as possible on there for you. I know there's a lot of different things going on out there, so I love the feedback I'm getting from agents on everything. So keep that coming. It helps me to plan and see which way we should attack things when I hear what else is going on out there, because I want to try to make sure you guys are as ready for everything as possible. The other thing I wanted to talk about here for a little bit is showing your own listings and showing listings of the brokerage. So that, as far as this in the whole thing with the settlement is, you are allowed to show your own listings and the brokerage listings without having any representation agreement. Now, having said that, I don't think that's the preferred method, because when you're doing that, you're should be presenting that you're working for the seller. So most of the time when you show your own listings and other REMAX North listings, your intent is hopefully to get that person as a buyer too. So when you don't have any kind of agreement, then you have to act accordingly as far as representing the seller. So if someone calls you up and and you're showing them a few houses, well, of course you would have a buyer's rep then. If you're just going to show them a REMAX North house and you're like, oh, I don't have to have a buyer's rep, true, but you cannot then have a conversation with them about how much they can afford, who their lender is, because you don't represent them. You represent the seller until you have some kind of representation agreement signed. Now, previously that didn't matter. It was assumed representation. But with this new NAR settlement now is that that's why you don't have to have a representation agreement, because you're working for the seller at that point until you have one. So again, the preferred method is to have some type of representation agreement with the person, but there's going to be circumstances where you're showing your own listing, showing other REMAX North listings, and I just want you to know that you're not required to have that document in that case. The other thing, as far as logistics on that, is how you're going to save all these documents, right? You're going to have times where you're signing showing services, your short form, long form, this form, that form. So some of these people are not going to make it to the end, right? Some of these people you're going to show homes and are going to end up not buying the home. So where are you putting that document? So what I want, and this is going to be a requirement, is what you should do is you're going to go to your sky slope here, and you're going to click on your the upper right icon there, and it has a My Account. You're going to click on that, and that's going to show you what your sky slope email address is. That's your general personal email address to sky slope. So what it's going to be really simple for you to do, I mean, even from a picture from your phone, if you're doing it on the fly, then you simply email it to that address. And when I go back here, or I can go right here, working documents, and I did this one this morning. So you see, I emailed the buyer rep agreement and dated it this morning, just right from my phone. Boom, there it is. Now I have that saved forever in there. Now, obviously, if they become a buyer, you're going to put that document into the transaction, but you're going to have many people. So let's, 4 months from now, you showed that house. Did you have a buyer's rep? Oh yeah, I have it here somewhere. So this is going to give you a really easy way. You can have even a draft set up on your phone. So anytime you need to just make sure you have that document, this is completely backed up. Once it's in here, once you send it, you no longer have to keep a paper copy, anything. So it's very secure, very safe.
I set up a file that just said for representation in my dot loops.
Right.
And I send them
Yeah.
all in there, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that would be good.
Because that's where all your
kind of spaced out.
right.
Oh,
So that gives you, I think, a really good way to keep organized and keep compliant with everything that's going on. Okay, so now let's go to I know some of this is maybe overkill, but I think I'm still getting a lot of questions on the forms and everything. So that's where we're going to do another review of those things and go over some of the questions I'm getting right now. So one of the things that just came up, and I actually wasn't aware of this change, bad on me here, I'm going to go over, and this is how crazy things are, how quickly things are changing. And you guys can't see that, can you? Let me change my share here. 1 second to my talking, thinking you can see it. You can't see that. Okay, everybody should be able to see the forms now. So one of the forms we've been talking about is this 2406. Well, these forms changed in June. And as you can see down here in the bottom left corner, now August 23rd, which just was last week, this form was updated again. And the reason it was updated is they added section E here, intermediate brokers fees. So I want to be clear on this because, you know, most of the contracts you guys sign, listing agreements and everything, you allow intermediary, which just means it can be two REMAX North agents. Where the confusion is a little bit here is thinking that you have to have this if there's intermediary, and it's not. If you're, and this goes for any kind of listing agent you're calling, you're always going to have to find out how you're getting paid now, right? Because you have no idea. So is it broker to broker? Is the seller paying you? Am I putting my commission in seller concessions? And I'm going to talk more about those things. But in the case of an intermediary, you're going to call your fellow agent here at REMAX North. And if they say, hey, I have in the listing agreement, and I'll go just to make sure we're clear here over there. And they say, you know, they filled out, and they don't have to be this specific, but if they say it's broker to broker compensation, that means they filled out 5A, you know, with a percent, and then how much you're giving the other broker. Well, in the case of intermediary, there is no other broker. So you actually don't need any additional compensation forms if that fellow agent says, yes, we're offering, and it happens to match your, I mean, I know this gets convoluted, if it happens to match your buyer agent agreement. So that's your agreement, just for sake of example, your agreement, your buyer agent agreement says 3%, you call the agent and they say, yes, my seller's offering a 3% buyer agent commission, then you don't have to do anything. When you look at that other form, on E there, it says, in addition to any fees, seller has agreed to pay the listing broker. So what that would mean is, let's say you call them and they say they're paying 2%. You could send this over and say, well, I want another percent. So that would, you could put it in here. That doesn't mean he's going to agree to it, but you can ask. I mean, that's where this is going to get interesting for you all, is, you know, you're going to have to be out there fighting for your commissions in some instances. We already have agents that, you know, in my opinion, aren't really not paying fair, maybe not right, but different aspects, like, hey, send me your offer, then we'll decide what your commission is. I've already heard those type things. So, I mean, that's why we're being very transparent with our page and what the commissions are, but it's gonna, well, wait a minute. Okay. All right, I don't think I'm that slow. There we go. It should shut off. All right. Okay, I don't know why my computer's having a little difficulty here. All right, so you're going to have to be diligent on how you're getting paid. I mean, it's if they are doing that 5-1, you know, broker to broker compensation, then it's pretty similar to how it was in the past. But you need to find out that information. You need to know how to structure your offer, what forms to use, and we'll talk a little bit more about that again. But hopefully that's clear on the intermediary. So if you did call the agent and they said my seller's not offering any commission, then you would definitely fill out E, because you would put that, you know, in there to what you want to get paid. So the two agreements that we're going to be using.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say, two questions I've got. So Joe, the real estate agent, says, well, send over your offer. We're not going to send over an offer without that, knowing that information, right?
Well, that's where it does get sticky. What if you have a buyer that says, I want to make an offer? Then, you know, your obligation probably is to do that at that point. So then you have to send it over with either, you know, seller's concessions, or with one of these forms to, and I'm going to go over those next. Like, you have the compensation here between broker and owner.
Okay, so the second question is then, so I call Joe and he says, we're not offering a commission. I'm still going to send over this form asking for that commission, is what I think I heard you say.
Well, that's what you have to judge, because it depends on how your conversation goes with your buyer, because your buyer rep says that if you can't get payment from the seller, then they're going to pay you, right? So
right.
you could, if your buyer says, don't worry about it, I'll pay you, then you could just send the offer and not worry about it, right? Because the seller's not being, but as we know, not a lot of buyers are going to want to do that. So then you can talk to your buyer and say, hey, they're not offering it, but we'll ask for seller's concessions, or we'll send over this form, you know, compensation agreement between broker and owner. But there, you know, to me, there has to be some communication with that other agent to construction house, you're gonna kind of just throwing darts at that point, like, tell me something.
Right,
On
right,
there,
okay.
so. But at
Okay.
least if they
Except you
tell
were
you
just
one way,
talking about intermediary.
well, no, this is separate from intermediary now, just talking about a general offer, right? You're not talking about intermediary, right, Kelly?
No, no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
I was just asking
Yeah,
questions.
just in general. So, you know, communication is going to be important, you know, between agents. It is going to be frustrating. But, you know, you're going to have to just, like those scenarios, if someone doesn't want to tell you anything, then you just have to, you have to, at some point, unless your buyer says, okay, then just move on, that's fine. But generally, if a buyer really likes a house, they're going to want you to do something. So you're going to have a plan.
If you're listing a,
Thank you.
the benefit to your seller to not give up that information, because what if you have several offers, which you know, right now we're not, that's not a big thing, but if, let's say you run into that market again. You have several offers.
Run into what though? Give me specific.
Like you have an agent calling wanting to know what's the.
What do you offer?
contribution from the seller for their fee.
Right.
Giving that information means that they can make their offer better than the next person, whereas I think every one of those things are now negotiable, right? They
No.
always have been.
Well, but no, but the time of the negotiation, if they've already got a listing agreement that says that they're paying the buyer agent commission, that shouldn't then be another negotiation. Now, some agents are trying to do that. Yeah. So that shouldn't be another,
Not-
yeah. Technically, you can't, as an agent, say, I'll pay you 3% if you bring me a full price offer. Now, a seller can actually do that. I actually called legal hotline just to make sure of that. But you should not do that. You should not say like, yeah, it shouldn't be based on the offer. The commission shouldn't be based on the offer. Now, a seller can say, I want to do that. And then that puts an agent in a bad spot in my mind. So it's going to be, you know, interesting to how to, but I don't think we want to go there that you have to negotiate every offer the commission. You know, I hope it's not headed there, but some people are going to try to do that.
It really should reflect what's in the listing period in the store.
And I don't know if everyone heard that. The question is, well, if that isn't an advantage for your seller to negotiate on the commission, you know, and not tell what the commission is. And yes, you could look at it that way, but also if they have a listing agreement and it's stated on there, then to my thinking is then they should tell you what that is. But a lot of it's going to be, you know, you talking to your buyer and making sure they know about these changes. And we're just going to have to see how it plays out, where we're going to end up with the most common thing is going to be. Right now, the most common thing is still broker to broker, although I know there's some brokerages that are making it the owner to broker, which is really semantics. You know, it's the same thing. So if you have broker to broker compensation, or you have the seller to broker paying it comes out the same. If they're offering a certain amount, whether you call it broker to broker or seller to broker, it's no difference. And that's the other thing I wanted to point out. If you do put an offer in with seller's concession, so that's been a big topic. So, hey, we're not offering any commission, but you can put it in seller's concessions. And, you know, whatever, $300,000 house, I'm going to ask for 9,000 in seller's concessions. And then my client needs 9,000. Well, now I'm putting $18,000 in seller's concessions. One, to note that it doesn't count towards their limits. So you can do that. Two, question is, well, that's going to be terrible for appraisal. It's really the same. It's just in a different spot. So instead of it being commission and closing costs, it's all in closing costs. So yes, it can affect commission. And I don't like you guys having to put your commission and closing costs, because what happens if it doesn't appraise? They always want to reduce the seller's closing costs. So I think you want to try to avoid that. You want to try to get your compensation up front with one of these agreements, rather than jam it all into closing costs. But in some instances, that's going to be your only choice, because your buyer is going to say, I don't have the money, or I don't want to pay you. How can we get the seller to pay? Hey, we can put it in closing costs. And then you do have concerns of appraisal. And then it's unfortunately just be another negotiation if the home doesn't appraise on there. We're not having a lot of appraisal problems. So in that respect, it's not bad, but know that, and there's a video out there too that Zach with Motto put out there too that went over some of that. And I'm going to show you guys all that too, because everything now is submitted to the YouTube channel too, so you can always go there and listen to everything. My Monday updates, these broker updates, all those things will be on the YouTube channel. And then Motto does things, different things will be up there to keep everyone up to date. Next thing I want to go over a little bit too is just the buyer rep agreement. Now I have the red line, which is fine. As I spoke earlier about, you can show without the forms if it's your own listing or one of our REMAX North agents, it is still preferable for you to have a buyer's rep agreement. And preferably your goal is to get to the long form. The long form is the most effective form. It covers the most things, covers you the most as far as getting paid, getting bonuses, getting things from builders. And that's the other thing we're going to talk about here. To me, you should really only use the short form more for showing service if you have to, like a must-have. Yeah, they just will not sign anything but the short form showing service. And again, I equate that to how we did business before. Many times you went and showed a property without any agreement at all. So the showing service is really similar to that. They really weren't committed to you. What do? You go out and you show them 10 homes, and then they become committed to you. Then they sign a buyer rep. So,
doesn't, like if something happens to them at the showing, they get hurt, it doesn't cover them on the short form, but it does the long form.
yeah, you have more coverage, but like something like that is generally not an E&O claim because that's errors and omissions. So that's more of just an insurance claim, yes. But yes, that's why we really want to go to the law. And, in increments, I mean, the showing service is least desirable, but I know it's going to have to get used. Then doing the full brokerage service on the short form still would be your next best. But if you're going that far, I think it's much better to go with the full long form on there. And one of the things I wanted to point on that, because I've had this question a lot, if you go down here, notice regarding bonus and other compensation. So one of the definitive things that the NAR settlement was working towards is that the buyer agreement had to be definitive. Whatever was on there, that's what you're going to get paid. So of course, everyone's freaking out. Well, what if there are, new builds? What if this? What if that? And they addressed it right here. And I haven't really hit on this enough, but I wanted to notice regarding bonuses, other compensation. They have a form to amend the agreement, the 1505. So basically you show them 20 houses and they decide on a new build and they're offering 5%. You just do the 1505 to amend that your agreement from if it was 3% to the 5%. So basically what they're doing, there's no more that you show up at closing and they're, oh, wow, you got a bonus. That's the point of this. They want to just make sure that it's upfront. And I think majority of our agents either told their clients or a lot of them shared that bonus with their clients. So I don't think that's really a huge deal, but that's the plan is why they're doing that. But that way, at least you're able to do that and amend it with that form. And I don't know, let me see, did I have that form up here? No. Sorry, but I didn't have that form. I thought I put it up there, but it is the 1505. It's pretty simple. Basically, you're just changing the commission to what you're going to make, if it's a new build or anything. Could be someone's just offering a different commission that's on your buyer's rep. All right, let me see what else I got on my. Just since I have it right here, I'll just go over this again. Because another thing I'm finding people are doing is that they are using the ability to advertise the seller's concession as kind of a way to put commission on the MLS. So they're basically saying we're offering 3% in seller's concessions. My feeling is I don't feel that really is that following the settlement. I'm going to watch that. So there is a couple companies doing that where they're just saying we're giving 3% in concessions. So that is, you can have that on there, but that I don't think is really following the NAR settlement. So I think they should be careful with that. So you are seeing that out there. We're not doing that right now. We're either doing the 5A1, 2 there with more of the traditional method, or, if they don't want to pay without compensation. And you can do that. They can pick B and say, we're not going to pay compensation for the other broker. We're just going to offer, 12,000 in seller's concessions or 15,000. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But to constantly just put 3% in there like it's a commission, I think could be risky for these brokerages. So we're not doing that. But like I said, I'm always looking at those things. I've had great conversations with you all. The more you guys call me about what's going on and tell me what's going on, I think the more we can fine tune things and make ours system really good. Let's see what I got here. Jane had a question here about percentages here. I know that's kind of small. Before I would split 2.5, but the other agent is going to ask for the other 0.5 with their offer and probably get it. I don't know that I would agree with that. I mean, I think if they call you and you say you're offering 2.5, I mean, again, a lot of this is market driven, and if someone's house is on the market for 250 days and some agent throws an offer in and says they want 3%, seller's probably like, done. If the house is on the market, for 2 days and you tell them 2.5%, the seller's probably going to hold steady at that. You certainly can ask for things, but I think a lot of that, to answer the question, is going to be market driven to how that's going to work on there. So, okay, why can't I get rid of that? Yeah, it's just saying, normally I would split 2.5 to 2.5, but the other agent is going to ask for the other 0.5. Their offer would probably get it. And I just don't know that I would agree with that. I think that market dependent and each situation is going to be different. And I think we probably are pushing towards 2.5. I mean, I know no one likes to hear that. Like, sure, I always want to make 3 or make that. And when you look at like places like Corpus and other areas, they're probably half and half, 2.5 and 3%. One thing I always like to, I guess, the glass half full is, even though maybe we're going to have to take more 2.5 deals, that house that was $200,000 3 years ago is now $400,000. So when in the end, it's not a horrible thing, but it's good. This is going to be more negotiated now than it ever has been before. So you're just going to have to be ready to do the negotiation, and you're just going to have to be smart on how you go about it from both sides, from the listing side and from the buyer's agent side. So let's see if we got any more. Any little time for questions here? Anybody got any other questions in the room or online? Nothing, everything's easy. You got it down pat.
Rich, I have a quick question.
Yes, sure.
I was wondering, like, if they put 10,000 and that's all the seller is going to pay in seller's concession, but the buyer, and so you speak with the buyer and they understand that that's supposed to be for just the buyer's agent, but the buyer also needs repairs. And the buyer says, well, I at least need some of the money to make these, some of these repairs. Do you think that could be an issue? That's just a scenario. I haven't experienced that, but I've been wondering about that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's, going to have to be worked out. If they're offering that and your commission's 15 and they want money for repairs, it's got to come from somewhere. And that's where you have to show your worth to your buyer. I mean, technically by the paperwork, whatever money's split there, however short you are on what's listed on your buyer's rep, the buyer would be responsible for. So you know,
Is that where you would use an amendment? Like if y'all come to an agreement, hey, instead of giving you the full out 10,000 for your commission, we're gonna take some of that to use for repairs. Is that? what
right,
you would
technically,
do?
I don't know, I'm more worried when you're getting more money to do the amendment, but it could work in reverse, right? So you're only getting 2%. So your buyer says, well, hey, I'm not gonna move forward because I'm not paying you
Yeah.
another 1%. Will you do the deal for 2%? And then yes, you would do. Technically, again, I'm not too worried, but paying less, but the buyer should be, right? Because it says he's gonna pay you. So the buyer will want that amendment. So same thing. And so they're kind of the reverse. But yes, that's why I like to try to stay away from seller's concessions, because I think that gets messy for you all. So if you can get one of these other forms signed, that broker to broker compensation or seller to broker compensation is much better. Once you start lumping a lot of stuff in there, it's just going to start looking like a big number, even though, like I said, the net is the same. It's just in one spot. You know, it used to be seller's concessions and, you know, just on the CD as a commission. So try to avoid it when you can. Oh, I gotta make sure I stop not touching the keyboard. Come on.
I did have a question for those that listed after the June form update.
Yes.
Do we have to, you probably covered this before, but I didn't ever hear it.
Okay.
Do we have to go back and revise the?
If you use the old form,
If it's listed after that June 24th,
on what listing agreement?
on a,
Older, well, are you using the new, when you say it was listed after the 24th, but did you use the new listing agreement or the
Yeah.
old? If you use the new one, you're okay.
but if it's on the hold, then you need to.
Yes, you need the amendment to representation agreement. Yeah. Yeah, you should do those now.
That's-
Technically, I think technically they were pushing that those be done by that August 16th date. I feel the NAR settlement really gave you 30 days, but no one's saying that because no broker wants to keep giving you guys more time. So I put out there, you must have them by August 16th. So if you have an old listing agreement, you got to do amendment to representation agreement, or you can do a new listing agreement on the new form. So one of the two things, obviously the amendment's much simpler, you know, than do a whole new agreement, but both of those options work. See anything else in the chat?
I'm sorry, I just needed clarification.
Yeah, don't be sorry.
Amendment to listing agreement and or amendment to representation agreement. Are those interchangeable or you need to do both?
No, they made the temporary form that's amendment to representation agreement. And that's why they named it that way. You can use it for listings or your buyer's rep to just say, hey, this is, you know, amended to come up to the NAR settlement standard. So that one form, so that's really, there's multiple forms for amendments there, but they made this temporary one short and sweet for this purpose exclusively because they knew there was going to be a lot of listings on the old form, and you can use that amendment to representation agreement for both. Now, not too many people have old buyer reps, you know, so that there was less of those, but you can use it for both, or you can just do the new buyer rep or the new listing agreement to get it all up to par. And then that form will actually end up going away. So in a couple months, they'll do away with the amendment to representation agreement because everyone will be using the new forms. There'll be no reason for it.
But what I'm saying is now let me see if I can say it.
Okay.
A listing amendment does not substitute for a amendment to a representation agreement. You have to have that amendment to representation
Yes.
agreement when you have the old listing form,
Yes,
correct?
that's correct.
Thanks.
Because that has the verbiage on there that and with the settlement, that's why. So where just the regular amendment to listing doesn't have the verbiage that NAR requires you to disclose to that seller. All right, anybody else, anything else to add? All good? Everybody online good? Any last questions? And like always, I'm always here, so let me, please, when you have a situation, you're like, this isn't what Rich said, or wow, they're doing this different. Let me know about it. Let's talk about it. Because that's how I get to a lot of the stuff I present here is because an agent called me and said, hey, let's work through this situation. So please keep me posted on everything. Coming up on the holiday weekend, so enjoy that. And that should wrap up if no one else has any questions. And I don't see anything in the chat, so have a great day and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.